Why are we often afraid of working on our communication skills? Hello and welcome to Communication Psychology. My name is Gerhard. I'm a psychologist from Hamburg, Germany, specialized in communication psychology in international, intercultural and multilingual contexts. Many of us are afraid of going to a communication training, of working on our communication skills. Why is it so? On the one hand, there are those of us that are quite openly insecure, like myself, especially when I was a student at the University of Hamburg studying psychology. I tried to avoid as much as I could any chance of participating in role-playing. So I avoided courses in communication psychology at that time. Now, that's a clear situation. However, I observe that there are lots of people that on the outside seem quite self-confident and who at the same time also try to avoid such situations. Here, the reason is a bit more hidden. The problem is, especially if you're a leader, a team leader, or a respectable person in an organization, chances are that you don't have a quite accurate perception of the impressions you are making. That is, the people around you don't give you objective feedback on the way you come across. So you may be projecting a self-confident image. You think you are a very strong leader, very persuasive, convincing, and you never hear to the contrary. But in reality, people may be just not telling you what they really think, how you come across. So participating in role-playing and in any kind of communication training involves getting feedback. Now, that's if for decades you have avoided looking into a mirror. You may become apprehensive of looking into the mirror because you may guess there are quite a lot of things that you won't like. So why don't people give you sincere feedback about how you come across? Well, first, you may have not asked it directly. So giving unsolicited feedback is not a polite thing to do, especially for your subordinate. So people withhold feedback because they are afraid of negative consequences. They don't want to lose their job. There may be low psychological safety in your team. That is, people are not accustomed to speak up if they have doubts, if they committed mistakes, because they fear retaliation, judgment. And people may not give you this feedback because they don't believe it will matter, especially if it's about the way you come across. Probably people consider, that this is a personality trait of yours that cannot be changed, so why bothering you? Especially if they feel that you might become upset, because people feel if we are insecure on the inside. So even if you think you project the image of the strong leader, people may accurately assess that you are quite insecure and you need positive validation, and they sense correctly that you may become very upset if they tell you that, well, you don't always come across as the strong leader, on the contrary. So they better shut up. And also, even if they might think that you could change, maybe you have given them signs to believe that you won't bother about their feedback. So people don't give feedback if they feel nobody will act upon the feedback. So maybe you have given them the occasion to believe that. People have given you feedback on other occasions and nothing has changed. Now, of course, we live in a culture where we are expected to give us feedback. There's a 360-degree feedback method or the 180-degree feedback method. But even then, maybe the way you are giving feedback in your organization may just scratch the surface. For example, after giving a presentation, you may accept a superficial amount of criticism, like you could have presented the information in a clearer way, or you have spoken too fast, or you could maintain better eye contact, or could improve your pronunciation. All of that are still quite on the surface and not disturbing to somebody who has an insecure self-image. But if you ask people, tell you anonymously or in a trusting environment how you come across, maybe you will get upset when people tell you that, well, you came across as arrogant, or you didn't seem to care for your audience. That may be quite a blow to your self-confidence. And typically we live in a bubble that is our team members figure out what we want to hear if we are the supervisor. So they give us positive validation that we are the greatest. Then if you have a look at LinkedIn, so people validate each other in groups. Wow, you are so great. If I post a quote with a nice picture writing, good communication is built on effort. People will say, right, wow, how profound. Wow, I need to share this with my company, and so on. So you live in a bubble of people who pat each other on the shoulders. And you do the same thing on LinkedIn and with colleagues. But you are one big group. For group outsiders, it will look completely different. So a group outsider will not think that good communication needs effort is a very profound quote. They may even make fun of me. And the same may go for how we present ourselves in group meetings, or if we have industry meetings, round tables about the new frontiers in HR, for example. And maybe we are sharing quite superficial information, uninteresting, but we are clapping and patting each other on the shoulder, while a bystander may look more critical at this. Now, of course, we can avoid communication training and work on our communication skills. Also, one problem is if we start working on our communication skills, it may show to other people that, well, why is he working on his skills? Maybe it's an admission that he's not so good. We don't want to admit that. And so we may not openly reject it, but we may say things like, well, I'm already a good communicator. I've never problems with my team. People like me, and so on. So that's a very dangerous situation. So if you really never get negative feedback on the way you come across, that should be an alarm bell showing that maybe you are living in a bubble. Maybe you have not created enough psychological safety for people to tell you uncomfortable things. And you might also go the route and say, well, those communication trainings or the skills is very superficial. So I rather study a new programming language or something else, something more hands-on. So lots of us, we tend to discount communication as something wishy-washy and not technical enough. So it's not something where we can show, well, I acquired 20 new skills. So, because good communication depends especially on better listening skills and better understanding other people and also better understanding ourselves. And it's not something impressive like you post on LinkedIn, I'm proud to communicate. I finished my new online certification training at Stanford University for programming language X. That is more impressive. But, well, I improved my listening skills. What do you write about that on LinkedIn? Now, the problem is, even if you avoid looking into a mirror, people will look at you every day. If you avoid getting accurate feedback on how you come across when talking to other people, nonetheless, people will form their impressions. The only thing is they will keep them to themselves and they will talk among themselves without you. So if you work on your communication skills or not, nonetheless, people will have their impressions of you. So it would be quite intelligent to do it proactively. And if you really want to control what people think about you, well, then you should also do your job. If you have questions, if you want to invite me into your company to give a talk on communication psychology, please contact me. The contact details are here below. I wish you much success and see you next week. Bye bye.